Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Thumma ma ba'd, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So previously we were talking about within our within the story of the invasion of the elephants in the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and previously we spoke about Abraha, yes, how his journey along with the elephants and the army from Yemen all the way coming up to Makkah, and we talk about on the way how different tribes, some tribes they stood up to him, they actually tried to fight but they couldn't. Other tribes, like we spoke about at Taif, they actually were traitors and they actually gave the Abu Regal, the human satnav, they gave that to Abraha, gave him to Abraha, and then we know what happened to him, and he died before they could reach Makkah. And we spoke about this. And last week we spoke about how the army, they stole 200 camels when they were outside Mecca. And we spoke about how Abdul Muttalib, he was able to meet or just get a meeting with Abraha because Aswad, the scout of Abraha, he went into Makkah basically to tell the people of Makkah, to tell the leader that we are not here to fight. We just want clear paths. We are here to destroy the Kaaba. So that's where we reached last week. We're at the point where Abdul Muttalib now has just entered the camp that Abraha is in. So we'll continue from there, inshallah. So Abraha meets Abdul Muttalib, and this is what we'll talk about today. And this is it's an epic meeting. It's very famous, the back and forth which happens in this conversation. And it's very greatly beneficial to us to basically to understand what was going on at the time. So remember, before we start, we said there was two major incidents that the grandfather of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was involved in, and we spoke about these before the Prophet alaihi wasallam was born, and this really made his legacy. And this really made his legacy. One was the unearthing of Zamzam. Do you remember when we spoke about this? The fact that the digging up of the well of Zamzam. And the second was the role that Abdul Muttalib plays in the invasion of the elephant. So his role starts now, basically. His contribution starts now in this meeting with Abraha. And this is a part of it, the legacy of Abdul Muttalib. So this is what we mentioned about Abraha as well previously. We said that Abraha is somebody who's basically, wa alaikum salam, hope you're doing well. Abraha is somebody who sits and he's willing to talk to people. So he's somebody who will give time to people who, wa alaikum salam, he'll give time to people who actually want to sit down and talk to him. So what happened is, like we said, now we're at the camp. So just picture this. We're at the camp, where the army is camping out outside Mecca. Abraha is in his tent. Abdul Muttalib, now he walks in to the tent. He gets his meeting with Abraha. And Abdul Muttalib, by the way, he walks through the door. And Abdul Muttalib was a very impressive individual. Like, he had a great physical presence. He was very strong. He was tall. He's very tall. He was broad. He's wide. He's muscular. He's like strong. He had this aura, presence. Sometimes you have a person who has this presence and this aura about him. He was a natural leader, Abdul Muttalib. So obviously, as soon as he walks in, and other scholars, and we know that scholars have also identified him as being somebody who, he was of those 12 or so people of the Hunafa who worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So naturally, he had dignity. He had respect because of his spiritual condition. Because, somebody whose heart submits to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the inside, you can see when you look at them, you can see like nur on their face, you can see calmness, you can see freshness on their face. So he was in a proper spiritual condition, and that's, you could tell when you look at him, when you look at somebody like that. As soon as Abdul Muttalib, he walks through the door, Abraha sees him, and straight away, he's very affected. Abraha, like, he's the Yemen, he's the king of Yemen. He's affected. You can imagine. He looks at Abdul Muttalib and he's greatly affected by him. He's filled with respect. Naturally, this respect comes into Abraha. He looks at this human being and he thinks, wow, look at him, Abdul Muttalib. He's so dignified. He's a leader. He just sees, like, he sees confidence in him. He's this confident person who walks into the camp, into the tent. So Abraha, now he wants to show Abdul Muttalib some respect. So you can understand, Abraha, like, he does have some qualities of dignity, etc., because he's not just somebody, like we said, who wants to go around killing people. So he wants to show Abdul Muttalib some respect because he's just impressed with him. But what does he do? He doesn't want Abdul Muttalib to come sit on the throne next to him. So what he does, Abraha, he gets off the throne, his chair, and he comes and he sits down on the ground with Abdul Muttalib. He humbles himself. So, and he says to Abdul Muttalib, come and sit with me. So Abraha sits down and he says to Abdul Muttalib, come and sit with me. So, this is actually quite a massive gesture. Like, if you can imagine, Abraha sitting on the floor for somebody, you don't really expect this. So Abraha sits on the ground. He asks him, he tells him to join him. He shows some hospitality to him, basically, some, hospitality to his guest. And he says, what can I do for you? So Abraha is asking Abdul Muttalib, like, why are you here? And you know why I'm here? And Abraha says, you know why I'm here. I'm not going to go back without getting what I want. But you want to talk to me, says to Abdul Muttalib. You're here to talk to me. You've come all this way to talk to me. You look like an impressive individual, a reasonable human being. You look like an intelligent man. What would you like to talk to me about? So what do you think? Does anybody have any ideas? What do you think that Abdul Muttalib wants to talk to Abraha about? Yep.
He wants to talk to him about like what do you call it? Like don't destroy the Kaaba or something like that.
Okay. And this is obviously what Abraha thinks as well. And this is what we expect, but no, that's not what you want to talk about.
What? No,
okay. So what?
So we're going to fight his army back.
So yeah, this is
punishment.
So this is very interesting, actually. You know what Abdul Muttalib says to Abraha? He says, you know that I own 200 camels? And my camels were raided by your army, by your people, by your soldiers. I would just really like and appreciate that my camels are returned back to me. And that's what he said. So he came all this way to talk to Abraha, and that's what he said. I want my 200 camels back, please. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about. So you think, like you said, you're a bit confused, isn't it? Try and imagine being there in the room. Try and imagine being like a fly on the wall or something, listening to that conversation. Just imagine what your reaction would be if you're Abraha, if you're listening to Abdul Muttalib. Like, is it what these Arabs are? Unintelligent people? They don't get it, do they? Like, I don't think they understand what I'm here to do. They seem pretty like they don't know what's going on. They have no idea why I'm here. That's what Abraha must be thinking. Everything. Abraha had this idea of Arabs. They're like a bunch of like Bedouins, and they live in the desert. They're not intelligent. He's thinking, well, that's exactly what these Arabs are. I'm here. This is what Abraha is thinking. I'm here to destroy the Kaaba, and this guy, the leader of Makkah, comes and he's worried about his camels. I mean, what's wrong with him? Exactly, that's what you'd think, isn't it? So Abraha's reaction is exactly the same. Abraha tells Abdul Muttalib, when you walk through the door, when you came into my tent, I was instantly in respect of you. I was in awe of you. I was very impressed with you. I said, here's a man, here's a leader. But now, when I hear you talk, I've lost all my respect for you. He says, are you really here to talk to me about 200 camels that you say I have? And you're not even here to talk to me about the Bayt Allah, the Kaaba? Like, what's wrong with you? And that place, the house of Allah, which is literally the center point, it's the center point of your religion. It's the religion of your forefathers. Your religion is based out there. Your whole identity is based because of the Kaaba, right? And you're not even going to talk to me about that. You're here to talk to me about 200 camels. What's wrong with you? Isn't it? It's very strange. And this is a very, very, and it's an amazing response, which Abdul Muttalib gives. And it's very important actually for us to understand this, and just understand, you'll understand what sort of, we've already seen what sort of individual Abdul Muttalib is, from how he was, the incident of the Zamzam, and what happened, and how he walked through, how he conducted himself in that incident. But when you listen to him, you find out so much more, what sort of amazing person he was. So Abdul Muttalib, now he says those very famous words, a very famous statement, which you may have heard. He says to Abraha, you see, what I want you to understand is, I own these camels. I'm the owner of these camels, so they're my responsibility. So I'm here to defend my property. But what you're not realizing is that the house that you're going to attack also has an owner and also has a master. So he will take care of it. He will defend the house. I don't need to worry about this. In fact, we didn't even mention it before. When Aswad, the scout, he went into Makkah, sent by Abraha, and he first came across Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Muttalib even said to Aswad, he said that, you've come to attack the Kaaba. That's the house of Allah. If Allah wants to defend it, he will defend it. It's his bayt, it's his house. But if Allah wants to leave it, and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he wants to clear the path and allow you lot, the Abraha, to attack the Kaaba, then we can't defend it. So, you know, that's what Abdul Muttalib said. He said, I swear to God, none of us are capable of doing anything. It's up to Allah what he wants to do. So Abdul Muttalib, he tells Abraha that Allah will take care of the Kaaba. So that's amazing, isn't it? Like, just think about it. Abdul Muttalib says, I'm here to only speak about my property, what I own. I own those camels. So let's get back to the topic of the camels. Look, you know, we know about this. Abdul Muttalib is an intelligent person. He's confident the way he says it. So like we said, we saw him play a massive role previously in the major incidents of the Zamzam. So as Muslims, we appreciate this confidence, isn't it? Like, he has this confidence. He's standing up to, like, you could say, a tyrant, Abraha, and he's not like Abdul Muttalib. He's not scared of him. He's standing up to him. He's saying to him, give me my camels, right? And he's saying, don't worry about I'm not worried about the Kaaba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will defend the Kaaba. That's his house. So, you know, he told Abraha that if you want to go and mess with the Rabb of the Kaaba, if you want to mess with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's your choice. It's up to you. He's going to take care of it. So look at the trust. Look at the trust that Abdul Muttalib, he has in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That's a very big lesson for us. If you think about this, you know, we can learn that in reality, you know, think about it. Like, if you walk into a camp and there's a camp of 60,000 soldiers, and there's elephants there, you know, you'd be scared. You'd be thinking, you know, we don't have any chance. Like, the Kaaba has no chance. So where's Abdul Muttalib getting this confidence from? Where is he getting this confidence from that he's saying, you know, look, you know, I own the camels, so I want my property back, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he owns the Kaaba. That's his house. He will defend it. I'm not worried about that. Where is he getting this confidence from? He has a deep trust, iman. He has a faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's the key point that we need to learn from him. We need to have the same at all times. You know, doesn't matter what obstacle, difficulty we face, you know, you need to have a confidence like Abdul Muttalib that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's going to take care of affairs. You know, I'm putting my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Abraha, naturally, what happens? What do you think he thinks now? Abraha is naturally shocked. He's shocked. Like, he says, what? Nothing can stop me. Nothing can stop me. So look at the arrogance of Abraha. Like, you know, Abdul Muttalib mentioned the Rabb of the Kaaba, and Abraha says, nothing can stop me. You know, what's going to stop me? You see my army? You see my office? What's going to stop me? 60,000 army plus elephants, nothing can stop me. So he's arrogant. Abdul Muttalib says, okay, you and Allah, you can take this up with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You take it up, you know. Don't ask me. I don't know what's going to stop you. I don't know. It's between you and Allah. It's none of my business. And that's what Abdul Muttalib says. So Abraha, he gives the 200 camels back to Abdul Muttalib. So whatever Abdul Muttalib asks for, he gives it back to him. He orders somebody to give back his 200 camels. So now Abdul Muttalib heads back on his way, back into Makkah. So that was like the epic. That was a meeting between Abraha and Abdul Muttalib. And you see like some amazing exchange of conversation there. So what happens next? What happens next? So just realize how close this army is to Makkah. As soon as Abdul Muttalib gets back into Makkah, he gets back to the Quraysh and he tells them exactly what happened. And he also says, you know what? This man, Abraha, he's not here to mess around. He's not going to back down. This man, he's not here to talk. I advise all of you to basically evacuate the town, evacuate the city, evacuate Makkah, leave. So that's what he's saying. He tells to all the Quraysh, everybody there, evacuate. So the whole of Quraysh, what they do, they leave their houses in Makkah, they leave their homes, and they go up into the mountains. You know, in the mountains, they basically camp on the mountains because they're clearing the path for the army. They don't want to stand in the way of the army, right? They want to basically clear the path. They camp into the mountains and they wait for the storm to blow over. Basically, you know, an army's going to come. Let's just wait here, so to speak. So, what happens next? So one other thing happens. As soon as the town is basically clearing, they're going up into the mountains. Abdul Muttalib, what he does, you know, as they're leaving, he goes to the door of the Kaaba. He goes to the door of the Kaaba. You know this door, which do you remember? The treasures they found from the well of Zamzam, the gold, the silver, the jewels, and they use this to make the door of the Kaaba, all the gold. So the door is now made out of gold,
and it has a ring on it, like a ring to hold. You can hold onto the door. Like a ring to hold. You can hold onto the door. Abdul Muttalib goes. He holds onto the ring of the Kaaba, in the handle of the door. He holds it, and he says some words. So it's like a dua. It's like a supplication. He makes dua. Abdul Muttalib. It's a beautiful. It's a bit of poetry basically, and he says, and this is very very famous. He makes dua to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. He says, "Oh Allah." He makes dua. He says, "Oh Allah, stop them." So you see what he's doing? He's putting his trust in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. He's making dua. He's saying, "Oh Allah, stop this army." Why is he saying this? He's saying because if any man, your slave, your human being, if someone tries to attack his home, if someone was to come into his house, his place, that person is going to defend his house, isn't it? He's going to defend his property. So Allah, please defend your home. Only you can defend your home. Only you can defend your Kaaba. So he says, "Oh Allah, please defend the sacred house." Interestingly, he refers to the Kaaba as Hilal. You know when he's talking about the Kaaba, we normally say Haram. But he's saying Hilal when he's talking about the Kaaba to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hilal from halal, meaning it's halal for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He can do whatever he wants with the Kaaba. It's his house. You know, the Kaaba is haram, it's prohibited. Like certain things are not allowed there. That's for us, that's for people. But for Allah, everything is halal. He can do whatever he wants with the Kaaba. So he says, "Oh Allah," and something very profound he says, Abdul Muttalib, he says, "Oh Allah, don't let their cross dominate." Because these are Christians, isn't it? This massive Abraha is a Christian. So what he's saying is, "Oh Allah, don't let their cross win. They're Christians. They've come here. Don't let their religion overtake the religion that is meant to be here." So again, he understands that the religion that is meant to be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something else, the deen of Allah, and that is going to come when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously when he comes with his message. But he's on Tawheed anyway. He realizes he worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, the grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he says, "Oh Allah, don't let the Christians overtake." And then he says, and this is very interesting perspective, so pay attention inshallah, what he says. He says, all the energies of the Abraha, all the army, all their focus is being directed against you, O Allah. They're attacking you. They're not attacking just the Kaaba, because think, they're attacking like a structure. It's made of bricks, the Kaaba. But actually, if you look deep down, the whole attack is against you, O Allah. They are attacking you. They're not just attacking these four walls. They're attacking you, O Allah, with all their might, with all their energy. So Allah, if you decide that you want to leave them, and you want to leave the Kaaba as it is, and if you don't want to interfere with them, if you want to let them have what they want, and let them destroy the Kaaba, you know what's best, we trust you. That's what he says. You know what's best. But I'm here to make an appeal, O Allah, please defend the Kaaba. And Allah, you know that they are here with hatred. So defend it. So please defend the Kaaba. And if you decide that you leave the Kaaba and you don't defend it, then it's fine. So Abdul Muttalib, just look at the trust this man has in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's making this dua in front of the Kaaba. And obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond to a sincere dua. So Abdul Muttalib, he leaves the Kaaba and he evacuates the city of Makkah along with the rest of the Quraysh, right? He evacuates. And again here, I just want you to picture what's happening. This scene in your head, just picture. Imagine if you were there instead of Abdul Muttalib, what must you have been thinking? With this massive army just outside Makkah, would you have the same trust that Abdul Muttalib has in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the same trust in the unseen? Just look at that trust that he has. So this is what happens. Then Abdul Muttalib, he starts to walk up into the mountains. So what happens next? Okay, so this is very interesting. A couple of points we're going to mention. Nufayl. So Nufayl is the person. What does he do? Do you remember Nufayl? So Abraha and his army, they approach Makkah. So now they're very close to Makkah. Okay, as he's walking, he's approaching Makkah with his army. Something very interesting happens. One of the leaders, so this leader is Nufayl bin Habib. Do you remember the leader, the first leader that was the second leader that was taken prisoner by Abraha? At the start of his journey, when the tribe started to fight against, tried to defend, oppose Abraha, and the leader Nufayl was taken prisoner. Do you remember him? So this is where you see the differences between people as well, because this guy, Nufayl, he stood up to the army. He was willing to defend. And the other people were traitors, like I mentioned, the leader of At-Taif, who gave Abu Rigal to Abraha. So this leader, Nufayl, he stood up for the truth. So even though they were defeated, he stuck to his principles.
So they had some honor. So again, a lesson for us is what? Just thinking about the leaders that stood up to Abraha is be strong in the decisions we make. Stand for what is right, have that sort of dignity that this leader had, Nufayl. So one of the prisoners taken by Abraha, Nufayl, who tried to fight against Abraha, but he was defeated. In the journey to Makkah, remember, he's been in the whole journey. He's been with Abraha. He's been with the army in the whole journey. He's been hanging around with the elephant breeder, Unais. So what he's been doing, this in the journey to Makkah, Nufayl has been hanging around with the elephant breeder, Unais. He's spending a lot of time with Unais, the elephant breeder, in this whole 700-mile journey. He's been there for a long time. And he was watching him. So Nufayl is quite clever. He's watching Unais, this elephant, the one who's looking after the elephants. He's watching him and he's listening to him. And he picked up on how he would communicate with the elephants and how he would get their attention and, things like that. Because Unais was communicating with the elephants, these massive elephants which were there in the whole journey. He had been picking this up. He's a smart person. Like Nufayl was a leader of the people. So as the army is about to move into Makkah, Nufayl, he goes over, he does something very interesting. He goes over to the largest elephant. He goes over to the largest elephant, right? The big one, the biggest elephant, he goes to him. And it's actually mentioned that the elephant had a name. You know what the largest elephant was? His name was Mahmud. Mahmud. That was the largest elephant. So Nufayl, the prisoner, has been watching the elephant breeder. He's been watching Unais the whole journey, how he's communicating with the elephants. Nufayl goes up to this massive elephant, the biggest elephant, right? He goes up to him and he was given this name, Mahmud, this elephant, because, this name was people loved this elephant. Like, it's a very famous elephant. So he was like a freak of nature, like a massive elephant. So he was like a super huge elephant. And this was an elephant that Abraha used to ride on because it was like an amazing elephant. So Nufayl goes to this huge elephant's ear. He goes to the ear of this elephant, Mahmud, and he gets his attention because he's been watching how the elephant breeder's been communicating with the elephants. He does something very interesting. And this is where you see, the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts to come in at this stage now. You can see some divine help coming in. He goes to the ear of the massive elephant, Mahmud, and he speaks to this elephant. He just starts to talk to him, And you know what he says to the elephant? He says something in his ear. He says to the elephant, listen, you're about to go and attack the house of Allah. That place that belongs to my creator, it's not only my creator, it's your creator. He created you, elephant, he created you. You're about to attack the place, you're about to attack the Kaaba, right? The house that belongs to my creator. So just understand what's going on. He's talking to the elephant. So he tells him, sit down, Mahmud. Sit down. He says to the elephant, sit down. He says, go back where you came from, because you're walking on sacred land. You're walking on land that belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Go back where you came from. And then he left him. Then he left his ear. And then he walks back. So Nufayl, he walks away. He lets him go. And he kind of walks away. So that's something quite amazing that he does. He talks to the elephant's ear. So what happens next? And inshallah, we'll just mention probably one more point for this week. And then inshallah, we'll conclude the story next week. So what happens next is, after what Nufayl said to the elephant, what do you think the elephant does? The elephant, the narrations say that Mahmud, he was the largest elephant, he just sits down. He just sat down. This massive elephant, he parks up. He just sits down. And this goes completely against the elephant's behavior. Because, if you think about it, elephants, they don't act like, for example, camels. Camels also, the Arabs used to ride on camels. Camels only sit down and don't move when they're annoyed and they're upset. Like, camels listen to their masters. They obey, their masters. But when camels are upset, they don't move. They show this behavior. Elephants don't do that. They're not intelligent enough to show that behavior. Camels are loyal, like dogs, they're quite loyal. They'll do what you tell them to. They listen to their owners. But elephants, they don't have the capacity to show moods and sometimes listen, sometimes don't. Like, if they're trained, that's it. So this elephant is trained. He is a massive elephant. He just sits down. He doesn't move. He refuses to get up. It's very strange behavior. Everyone starts to panic. the people in the army, they start to panic. Nobody knows what's going on. And one narration says, not only did the elephant sit down, but he laid over on his side. He like lied down. Like something happened. Something amazing happened. Like, what's happening? He's not even moving. He refused to get up. And now they're all confused. They're like, what's going on here? So Abraha, obviously, what's Abraha going to do now? He's going to get angry, isn't it? Like, what's going on? I'm here to do my mission. I want to destroy the Kaaba. And now we've got this problem with the elephant. He's not even moving. He's sitting down. He calls Unais, the elephant man, the elephant breeder. He says, what's wrong with your elephant? What's wrong? Like, this is your elephant. Do something about it. What's wrong with Mahmoud, your elephant? Come on, I don't have time for this nonsense. Get your act together. I want to do my business and that's it. I want to leave. So Unais is there. He's trying all his tricks. He tries to give the elephant some snacks. He gives some treats. He does what he can. Everything but he's singing and dancing. He does everything but sing and dance for the animal. Like, he's trying everything and the elephant just won't get up. So finally, he tries to make him stand and walk towards the Kaaba and he sits down. So Unais says, something must have spooked this elephant. Like, what's going on? He must be scared about something. So he says, okay, let's try something different. He turns the elephant around on the opposite side. So he's facing Yemen. And guess what? The elephant gets up and he starts to walk towards Yemen. He starts to walk the opposite way. And the second they try and make him do a U-turn to come back to Makkah, the Kaaba, the elephant sits down. So strange, right? The help of Allah can be seen. And this is exactly what Nufayl, he said in the elephant's ear, didn't he? He said, look, he said, go back. Don't go towards the Kaaba. So he's kind of listened to him. This elephant, and you know what the narrations mention? You know what happened? You know what these people do? They get hooks. You know hooks? Metal hooks. You get these big metal hooks. They get these metal hooks and they start sticking them into the elephant's stomach. Start to hurt the elephant. They get these metal hooks, massive hooks, and they stick them into the stomach of the elephant. They start to injure this poor elephant. Like, they try to they throw hooks at him. Why? Because they want to pull him. They're injuring him. They're hurting him. They try to pull him towards the Kaaba, but he still won't budge. This elephant does not budge. And some narrations actually say he just sat there. He stayed there. He didn't even move. He refused to go along. And this is what happened with the elephant. And the rest of the army then, they walk and they enter Makkah. So this is what happened. So this is the final act which happened before the army came into Makkah. So next week, we will talk about what happened when this army entered Makkah. And Mahmoud, this massive elephant, just sat there. They said, okay, fine, we're going to go ahead. We're going to do what we've got to do without this elephant because he's giving us problems. So this army now enters Makkah and the rest, as they say, is history. Like, you know what happened next, right? When this army came into Makkah, but we'll talk about this next week, inshallah, that this amazing the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what happened when this army went into Makkah. So, inshallah, for this week, we'll leave it there. We'll take any questions. We have a few minutes, and inshallah, before we do our quiz. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to gain benefit and understanding and benefit from the lessons we've talked about and implement them, and give us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to gain, a strong faith, a trust, and a trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just how Abdul Muttalib had this he's a strong person. He had this belief, had this trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May he allow us to have the same belief, the same trust. May he give us the love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. So, inshallah, we have for a couple of minutes, we can take any questions before we will do a quiz. So we can log off and we can log on and we can do the quiz. So any questions, any comments, observations while we're just on the story of, you see this journey, you see exactly, we're progressing through the journey, of this army coming towards Makkah. And we're talking about this in detail because this is an event which happened, like we said, about 2 months before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is born. So it's a profound, massive event. That is subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's choosing, he's basically showing us, the power, his power, and he's showing the world his power just at the time of the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because something special is about to happen. So if there's no questions, so what we'll do, if you can, yeah, subhanAllah, isn't it? Look at the obedience displayed by the elephant. Like you think he's just an elephant, but that's why Nufayl in the whole journey, he was watching Unais, the elephant trainer. He's watching him carefully. How does he communicate with the animals? Let me see what he does. And he implemented that, and he spoke to the animal. The animal straight away, no hesitation. As soon as he understood, what am I doing? I'm going to destroy the house, the Baytullah, the creator of me, the one who created me. I'm destroying his house. I'm going to do that. So he just became so obedient, and he just sat down. And no matter how much he was injured and hurt by these hooks as well, that they were putting into his stomach, he refused to budge, but he turned and he would walk towards Yemen when they tried that. So again, like we said, the help of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, His army is more than just we can imagine. His army is an army of animals, of elephants, of the unseen, of the angels, and no one can stand up against this army. So Subhanallah, it's quite amazing lesson for us. So, inshallah, okay.